Welcome back to the Titan Talk podcast. Here back in the studio, we are on episode 15 now. It's hard to believe we've been doing this for 15 weeks, but I am Nate and I am joined by
LKC, Luke Kinley Carter.
And we're going to get into a bunch of things here. We're going to give our grades for all of the coaches' hires that's happened throughout the past month or two. We're going to get into our Super Bowl predictions this week between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks, as the records are getting close, and we will talk about that here in a minute. That's all we have planned for this episode, but we're going to get started right now. Now diving into giving our grades for all of the coaches the Titans have hired in the past month or so, we have head coach Robert Saleh, the big one, out of the 5 I think that was hired. What's the grade you're going to give the Titans hired in Robert Saleh?
Listen, as many of you know who have watched this podcast, I'm not a big fan of Robert Saleh. He was down at the bottom of my list. And taking a look at some of the coaches that were hired, Mike LaFleur, Jesse Minter, Kubiak, Harbaugh, a lot of these coaches down this list, I would much rather have than Robert Saleh. I just don't think he's what we need to bring the Titans and Cam Ward to the next step. I got to give this hire a D.
I'm going to completely disagree with all that. I think Robert Saleh was a home run hire here. The only thing that was kind of iffy about it was who he's going to get for offensive coordinator. You know, we didn't know who he was going to bring in. A lot of people thought it was going to be Matt Nagy, who just got signed by the Giants to be their offensive coordinator. But I think since we hired Brian Daboll as offensive coordinator, I think you almost have to put this as an A hire because, I mean, that defensive mind that Saleh has, that really can't compare to anything across the league. And if we have that compared with Brian Daboll, who's able to develop quarterbacks at a high rate, I don't think you can really stop that.
See, I disagree with you, Nate. I think the Robert Saleh hire is to try and make up for the Mike Vrabel fire. You're telling me that you think Robert Saleh is better than Mike Vrabel? Because I
No,
think,
not all.
all right, if you don't think Robert Saleh is better than Mike Vrabel had the best Tennessee Titans roster in my lifetime, and we couldn't go to the Super Bowl. So you're telling me that you're trying to make up for a guy who didn't bring you to the Super Bowl in the first place. In my opinion, Robert Saleh is a knockoff Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel did not work for the Tennessee Titans to get them to the Super Bowl. So what would make you think that Robert Saleh is? The Titans needed to hire someone young that was going to take Cam Ward to the next level and help him progress. And I don't see Robert Saleh doing that.
Well, my argument with that is I think you have to look at Brian Daboll. We're going to have a whole way much better offensive staff than we had with Vrabel. We're also going to have – Vrabel had a lot of injuries those years. You got to think about it, especially the year we had the number 1 seed. Vrabel did his best with that roster, and he still took them to the number 1 seed. Now we're pretty good on depth, especially after the draft and free agency, and we're going to have Daboll as offensive coordinator, who's better than Todd Downing, and then a bunch of other guys like we're going to get into now. The offensive line coach who just hired, Carmen Bracillo, and he was the New York Giants offensive lineman, and from what I've heard, he's one of the best offensive lineman coaches in the league. So just based off of what I've heard and seen out of him, I'm going to give this a B- hire. I think you could have done better, but I think this was a really good hire from what was available.
I'll go with a B-. I'll agree with you, Nate. The one thing I will tell Titans fans to be careful, though, last coaching cycle, we were told we got the greatest offensive line coach in the history of football ever with Bill Callahan. Oh, look how that provided to be. So take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, now he's with the Atlanta Falcons over there and going to take them to a Super Bowl. But we're going to wait and see what happens there. Next coach we have here is running back coach Randy Jordan, who is retained. He was on the team last year, got retained under Robert Saleh's resume. What do you think about Randy Jordan staying?
I'll give this one an A+ because I think the Titans made a lot more than what they could have made with the running backs last year. I think Tony Pollard really found his way into this offense. Probably even bought himself a couple more years since the Titans without getting released. I think Tajay Spears continued to grow and develop even though he was dealing with an injury all season long. But I'm going to give this one an A+.
Yeah, for Randy Jordan, I'm also going to give this. I'm going to give it an A because, I don't think there's better choices, but I think the Titans' run game did struggle early on last season, but it really did pick up towards the end of the season and hopefully into next year. Really hoping we pick up a running back in free agency like Breece Hall or just some other guys that are available there. but I do like this hire. I'm going to give it an A. The next coach we're going to get into here is offensive coordinator Brian Daboll, who I think is an A++. If you could give it multiple pluses, I think this is the best hire they've gotten and done. You've seen him develop Josh Allen in Buffalo. You've seen him develop Jackson Dart in New York last season. He wanted to draft Cam Ward, was unable to do that. But I'm going to give this an A+.
I'm going to give it an A-. Not because I think Brian Daboll is bad. I think he's the second best coordinator that we could have gotten. I do think that Mike McDaniel would have been better. I would have rather had Mike McDaniel, but Brian Daboll is the second best option. I'm surprised we got him, but I'm grateful we got him, and I am excited to see what he can do. I know there was some concerns in New York about his coaching regiment and how strict and how tough he was on players that really damaged the locker room, and it sort of lowered morale. So I hope that's something that he can improve on going into this next stint. And we saw it with Robert Saleh. A lot of these first-time head coaches that were fired and go back to being coordinators turned out to be the best coordinators in the league because of their head coaching experience they had and their previous coordinating experience. So for that, I'm going to give it an A-, but still a very good hire.
Yeah, the next coach we're going to get into is Aaron White-Cotton, who was hired here from Dallas. He will be our defensive line coach and the run game coordinator. He was in Dallas last year. He was also a part of Robert Saleh's staff when they had the #1 defense in the league with the New York Jets. So I'm going to give this one an A-. I think it's going to work well. You know, you have Jeff Simmons hopefully getting a new edge rusher as well, and hopefully we'll have a secondary because we need one. Yeah, I'm going to give this an A-.
I'm going to give this one a D because it sounds to me like this is a loyalty hire for Robert Saleh, which it's never good for a coach to hire based off of loyalty. You saw Chip Kelly for the Raiders this season, who Pete Carroll hired. You don't ever want to hire as loyalty as a head coach. And being the defensive lineman coach and the run game coordinator, having followed Robert Saleh place to place, this sounds like a guy that just Robert Saleh is hiring because he likes him, because he's probably his friend. And that doesn't cut it for me.
It kind of gives me flashbacks of back in the day with Brian Callahan hiring Nick Holtz or whoever that was, because I don't think he really did anything, to be honest. He didn't call plays. He wasn't that much visible in the coaching staff, I guess is the word to say. But the last coach we're going to get into that they hired, it's the most recent one, the new defensive coordinator in Gus Bradley. He was last season the 49ers assistant head coach there. I'm giving this one an A+. You know, the 49ers looked great last year. Had a couple injuries that kind of stalled their season. But I think this is well. He worked with Saleh, and he's an exceptional head coach I've heard from around the league, not just with the 49ers. And, yes, he is bald. So, yeah, I'm going to give this one an A+.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Robert Saleh's only hiring bald guys for his coaching positions. But to your point, I think you understated that a little bit. The 49ers were decimated with injuries. I saw a couple of comments on this guy talking about how, 80-year-old Phillip Rivers carved him up in prime time. Yeah, Phillip Rivers did do great against the 49ers that defensive game. Don't forget, the 49ers won that game dominantly, and the 49ers were completely decimated by injuries this whole entire time. First of all, they got their defense picked apart like vultures from free agency coming into the season, and the guys like Bosa and Warner, who you thought were going to be the mainstays, Greenlaw too, they got hurt. They got hurt, and he did the best with nothing. So I'm once again agree. I'm going to give this an A.
Next thing we're going to get into is last week's discussion post. We forgot to put it in last week. Going to get it in now. The discussion post was, who do you hope the Titans take with the 4th overall pick, or if you hope they trade down? Going to get into y'all's comments right now. We have, first up, we have one Titans fan, Hurricane Allen, River, Cameron Ward fan. All of them is saying Ruben Bain. I wouldn't mind it. I think there's a better option out there. We'll get to that here in a minute. But I wouldn't mind picking up Ruben Bain. But I think if there's this other guy available, which he probably will be, I would take him over Bain. But what's your thoughts on Ruben Bain?
Ruben Bain, I think if he's available at 4, which I think is a very big if at this point. You know, coming in right after this season, you thought, Ruben Bain's going to be available at 4. You honestly probably reached on him at 4. Now, I don't know that he's going to be available at 4. If he is, I think he is the safest pick. I think he's like a Joe Alt a couple of seasons ago, Like, he is a safe pick. He is going to be a bona fide great player in this league. I think we do have to take him if he is available at 4.
Next comment we're going to get into is the guy who I was just referencing. It is from Titans UPBR. He said Carnell Tate. This is far and away my favorite choice here. I think the Titans are in desperate need of a wide receiver 1. Yeah, we have Calvin Ridley, but he struggled last year and he had a lot of injuries. We are in desperate need of getting receivers in here, and I think Carnell Tate would be a great addition to this team, getting Cam Ward another target, especially if we don't get a wide receiver 1 caliber receiver in free agency this year. I think you almost have to take Carnell Tate here.
I'm going to 100% agree with you. It's crazy. Like, the 3 guys who I really wanted the Titans to get during the season was Ruben Bain, Jeremiah Love, and Carnell Tate. All 3 of those guys, their just draft stock has just plummeted up. And I don't know if that's the right word to use for that, plummeted, but it's soared up. We'll say that much. But I completely agree. I think the decision now is, do the Titans, if Ruben Bain goes off the board as a 2 or 3 pick, do the Tennessee Titans try and trade back and gamble to get Carnell Tate, maybe trade back to 8, 9, 10 in that range? Or do the Tennessee Titans reach on him and take him at 4? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not opposed to reaching and taking Carnell Tate at number 4 if Ruben Bain is off the board.
That's where I disagree. I think you have to go all gas, no brakes, as Robert Saleh said. On Carnell Tate, you need to lock down that wide receiver 1 position. Worst case scenario, trade and hope you get a top 5 pick next year and take Jeremiah Smith, probably number 1 pick, because I think that's the only other choice you're going to have to make, because you need a really good wide receiver going into rebuilding this team. You need to get him early as well, and I wouldn't be opposed as getting Akeem Mesidor in the 2nd round if he's available. I don't see much of a difference, honestly, between him and Ruben Bain. That might be a hot take, but I think Akeem Mesidor is a really good edge rusher for Miami as well. Getting into the last comment we have, it's from Colton Montana Walker. He said Jeremiah Love. You just mentioned him. I would not be opposed to it. The only thing is that's if we trade down into like the 20s or the 15 range, and all the other guys like Ruben Bain, Arvil Reese, Carnell Tate, if all those guys are gone, that's the pick I would make. But other than that, there's other needs that we need more than Jeremiah Love, in my opinion.
Here's the thing. The NFL, I think the biggest hope for the Titans to get Jeremiah Love is what you're seeing right now in the NFL. Look at who's the running backs in the Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker, Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson. None of these great running backs are in the Super Bowl. And teams really are still starting to abandon the run game, and running backs are becoming rarer and rarer being drafted in the 1st round. So I think there's a chance if Jeremiah Love really falls, maybe to the 2nd round. What would we have? Pick 30-something. What, pick 33, 34? One of those 2? Is it the 1st or 2nd pick in the 2nd round we have?
The 2nd round?
Yep.
We have the 3rd.
3rd pick?
3rd or 2nd.
Either one. If Jeremiah Love does fall, then I think that's a great opportunity to pick him up in the 2nd round. But I don't see us trading in that range that Jeremiah Smith is projected to go in right now. And if we do, I don't think we're taking a running back in the 1st round.
Honestly, I think you almost have to do this. I think the best case scenario, we trade down from 4 into that 7 to 10 range. Also get another pick, either a late 1st rounder like 31 or 32, and then or just get an early 2nd rounder and pick up a defensive back, because we need one. And I would not be opposed to getting Jermod McCoy, Colton Hood, one of those guys, because they'll be available in that range, I would imagine. And bringing them in, I think that just adds to this secondary that we desperately need as well.
I'm going to be honest. If we have to trade back in the 20s, I think the best pick would be Kalen Proctor, the offensive tackle from Alabama, because that guy is a weapon. And I know what you're thinking. I know what everyone is thinking. God, please do not let the Tennessee Titans take another offensive lineman in the draft, because it is so boring. But Kalen Proctor has been a weapon. So I want to throw his name out into the universe that if that's one of the guys that's available, if the Titans do trade back, I think we can get. Now, Nate, I think the situation you're talking about, trading back, I don't think that we can trade back to like that 7, 10, 12 range and get another 1st round pick. I just don't think any team's going to be willing to do that. I think if we're trading back, we're going to have to trade back late into the 1st round, where Ruben Bain, Carnell Tate, probably Jeremiah Love, maybe both of those corners, if not for sure, probably Colton Hood will be off, or Gerard McCoy will be off the board. I think at that point, the Tennessee Titans are sitting there at like the 23rd pick in the draft, and they see Kalen Proctor available. I think that's who we're going to take.
I completely disagree with that. I've seen the mock drafts of, I forgot the guy's name, but he had the Titans drafting at 4, mind you, the offensive tackle from Miami. I think that's unsmart, I guess is the word to say, because that's not our biggest need on the team. We're decently set on offensive line, but we do not need to waste a number 4 pick on an offensive tackle like that, in my opinion. But now we're going to get into our predictions. We're going to dive into that, Super Bowl predictions, and get started with that. Now diving into the Super Bowl predictions, we have the whole crew here. We're going to get into our Super Bowl predictions, going to give our thoughts between the number 2 seed in the New England Patriots taking on the NFC champion, the number 1 seed, Seattle Seahawks, who, guess what, Luke? They were, in fact, a top 5 team. I know I'm going to get that recording out one day. You know what? I'm going to put that clip right here. Seattle Seahawks taking on the 3 and 4 Washington Commanders, who has 2 straight primetime games. Confusing to me there, but who do you have here?
Let me tell you, the Seahawks are not a top 5 team like Nate described them on his power rankings. I disagree fully with that. I think the Commanders are going to get Jaden Daniels back, even if they got Marcus Mariota. Give me the Commanders.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I think the Seahawks have finally figured it out. I think the Seahawks get a huge win over the Washington Commanders. I think the Seahawks have a real chance at winning that division, especially with the Rams and 49ers being in that division. It's going to be one of the toughest divisions to win in football. I think the Seahawks have a real chance at that, especially with their breakout wide receiver, JSN. I think the Seahawks keep their streak alive here.
No, I want Commanders. Seahawks, no. Top 5 is insane.
Just wait. I'm telling you,
Nah,
they will be a force in the playoffs this season.
They could be the playoffs. They could.
Could is a crazy statement.
If they get to the playoffs.
That's even
Their
more
first round exits
outrageous.
if they're going to make playoffs for sure. So.
But now we're going to get into our predictions. We're going to do score predictions for this one as well, since it is the final NFL game of the regular season. Luke, who do you have in the Super Bowl, getting Super Bowl champions?
The Super Bowl champion of the NFL, declared in San Francisco, will be Drake May and the New England Patriots. Finally, after all these short years, the Patriots are going to reclaim the title back on top of the AFC. Let me tell you why. Listen, we talked about the Patriots having a cupcake schedule all throughout the NFL regular season, but they beat the mighty Texans defense. They beat the mighty Broncos defense.
Got by.
They beat the mighty Chargers defense, and now they're in the Super Bowl. Who's to say they aren't going to just absolutely take away the Seattle Seahawks defense? Because Seattle has struggled, especially in that last game. Matthew Stafford did pick them apart. The Patriots' defense has basically put them in this situation in the Super Bowl. Their offense hasn't performed great in any of the games they've played in the playoffs so far, and I think it's going to change. I think Drake May, in his second year, is going to get his first Super Bowl ring.
I could not disagree more. It's going to be the Seattle Seahawks getting the victory. Oh, did you give score prediction?
The score prediction for me is going to be 35-14.
I could not disagree more. I think the Seattle Seahawks will far and away be victorious here, almost like a blowout. The New England Patriots offense has struggled all year long, especially in the playoffs. They've only been saved by their defense, who was pretty much coached by Mike Vrabel. And you got to think, Seahawks defense is almost on the level as the Broncos and the Texans, so they have a 3-game stretch where they're playing a really tough defense. And Drake May has looked pitiful in the AFC Championship game. He fumbled the ball like twice. He threw an interception, as well in the divisional round. Divisional round was even worse. Mm-hmm. He had a lot of fumbles there. Granted, C.J. Stroud did as well, but if you're looking at this team as a playoff team, they're not going to get a victory like that. It has to be the Seattle Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks 38-13.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with Nate. I'm going to do the normal and go against Luke, and this week is going to decide who is the winner between me and Luke for second place. And I do have a feeling that the Patriots are going to do good, but the Seahawks have steamrolled teams. They have, ever since the first half of the season, I have been saying that they are going to win the Super Bowl. I have said it all through the playoffs, and I think that it's going to stay consistent. They're going to win, and I have them winning 28-18.
It's just not going to happen. Look, listen, guys, let me provide some pushback here. Nate, first of all, You talk about Drake May like he's just been dead in the water. He's second in the running for MVP. The Patriots have had one of the greatest offenses so far this season. Do you not remember what they did to the Tennessee Titans? Yeah, they slowed down during the postseason, but you can't expect Drake May to have 4 back-to-back bad postseason games in a row. And Evan, come on, man. Give me a break. The New England Patriots have culture. I want you to both close your eyes real quick and imagine this. Waking up next Monday morning, Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold. It doesn't sound right. It's not going to happen. Sam Darnold has been an outlier in these playoff games. He cannot have another great playoff game. Let me tell you what, the Seahawks are going down too. Charbonnet, who knows if he's going to play? He's getting hurt. I think the Patriots have the greatest secondary of the 2020s this season. I think the New England Patriots are going to lock down JSN. Cooper Kupp's a shell of his former self, and Sam Darnold isn't going to be able to do the rest.
Yeah, I agree that it is insane that Sam Darnold is going to even be the first from the 2018 draft class to even make a Super Bowl and also to win it. And I have a feeling that he is one of the weaker links on the team, and Cooper Kupp is a shell of a player compared to what he used to be. But JSN has been on fire. He has just been insane this season. I think he's going to have a field day.
That's insane.
He's going to have a field day against these Patriots defense, and not to mention they also have Kenneth Walker, who I'd still believe is an underrated player, and I feel like the defense on the Patriots cannot keep up with those two players.
Before I give Boston the mic to make his pick, let me tell you guys right now, zoom it in close if you really want to hear. If you care about your financial status, if you care about your bank account, bet JSN's under because Christian Gonzalez is going to lock him up.
This is the guy by the way, who picked against the Bears every single week of the regular season and the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. So keep that in mind as well.
That was something otherworldly. It was definitely something higher being.
Yeah,
That's one thing I can explain.
next season, if you want to basically make a lottery winning, just bet any time for the Bears that he bets against them because
Or any team at this point.
it's been a proven track record. He does pick some teams right, but the Bears are consistently whooping on Luke, and it is hilarious to watch every week.
We'll see.
Now we're going to get into the records where we're at right now after the majority of the regular season. I think we started week 3, but we're going to get into who has won, who has lost, where we're at in the standings as in this Super Bowl prediction. If somebody gets this right, it'll be plus 10 points for them, and they will go up. And so right now, as of the standings, I am currently in the lead. I have 90 right on the year with 68 wrong. And then Evan is in second place with 83 right and
will stay
52
there.
wrong. Luke is in second with 82 right and 75 wrong. And I do not have Boston's stats, unfortunately.
Yeah, how does it feel to stay in third place, Luke?
I'm going to win. It's going to be the greatest win you've ever saw. A comeback win. The Super Bowl is the only game that matters. Mark my words.
Heck no.
All right, now we're going to get Boston's prediction. We had to do a little mic switcheroo, but who do you have winning Super Bowl 60 this weekend, Boston?
Man, I got the Seahawks winning. I think they are going to take the win over the Patriots. Take that, Luke. I think they are going to be dominant. I think the score is going to be 21-10. I think the Patriots will put up, somewhat of a fight. Drake May is a good quarterback. He has shown some potential, but I do not think he can get it done in the Super Bowl against Sam Darnold and JSN. I think JSN will be the over. I'm picking the over. I think he is going to outperform and dust, the defensive players on the Patriots. And I honestly think the Seahawks just have depth and better conditioning. They have also blown out a lot of the people they have played in the different rounds of the playoffs, and I have the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl.
You know who they didn't blow out, though?
Who?
The Tennessee Titans. Only lost by 6.
True
Fun
that,
fact.
true that.
But that's going to wrap things up for episode 15 of the Titan Talk podcast. Going into Super Bowl weekend, we'll be back here next week in the studio again. We're going to have a quiz video next week. We will actually have that out finally.
Yeah, where I will beat Luke again.
Not true.
But we will be back next week with that. And But that's going to wrap things up. Episode 15. We'll catch y'all here next week. Might have another video later this week. See y'all next time.